that we do with the whole Art of Being Brill team. But I'm going to start well, my favourite of the team, really. Don't tell anybody else, Paddy, that you're the favourite. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that I'm going to introduce because I think Paddy, what people like when they encounter the Art of Being Brill team, they think that we're all maybe because I'm a doctor of happiness. They think everybody is happy clappy and nothing goes wrong in our lives and that we're somehow immune from the slings and arrows of what's going on out there. So what I want to do is just get behind the scenes of who Wee Paddy really is. So talk about kind of what you do for us now. So let's start with you now, and then I'll go back to it. So tell me about your role at Art of Being Brill, Pad, because we love having you in the team. What do you do, and where do you do it?
So I'm one of the trainers in the Art of Brilliance. What I like to do from a session point of view, whereas with adults and with children, is take it from the real world perspective. So whenever you're delivering messages of the Art of Brilliance, it's like, how do I apply it to my life? How does this work for me every day? How does it stop me from becoming low moods and depressed and things like that? So it's actually using this stuff in the real world and not just happy clappy stuff you read in a book and say, if you just do this, your whole life's going to be wonderful. It's like, how can you actually use this stuff whenever things go
Yeah.
wrong in life?
Yeah, because they do, don't they? Things do go wrong in life, and the accent gives us a clue. So where do you deliver for the Art of Being Brill? Tell us where you're based.
So I'm based over in Northern Ireland. So it's in a lovely wee town called in Kilkeel. So it's like the mountains on one side, sea on the other. So I'm basically all over Ireland. So it's Northern Ireland and the south of Ireland as well. So
Yeah. So you're our man in Ireland. So and you deliver a fantastic job. You just scoring tens out, knocking out the ballpark in schools and businesses, and you deliver across a range of stuff, like even for children and all the way up to teenagers. So you're so flexible in taking the Art of Being Brill and delivering it across Ireland. But so this is you now. Let's go
yeah.
back to Paddy before he was in the Art of Being Brill. Tell me just don't tell me everything, mate, but the backstory because you've talked about the real world. Tell about you, the old version of Paddy.
Yeah. So about 20 years ago, it all really sort of everything was grand, everything was wonderful. It didn't matter what I done in life, I succeeded. And then all of a sudden, everything sort of just went wrong for me. I had no control of my thoughts, no control of my emotions. I was having panic attacks. I started drinking alcohol real heavily. Yeah, just I was completely unable to control myself and my self-worth. So
But it's darker. Go even darker, Paddy. Do you give us a flavour? Go to the
yeah,
worst
so
part.
so things got really, really bad. I started to lose a lot of friends through suicide. Um, I could no longer see a way out. I couldn't see a way for myself. So that's whenever I decided, I made the decision to say, you know what, this life isn't for me. I need to get out. So I started to plan properly how to get out of this world, and ultimately ended up having two suicide attempts. Luckily, I was saved in it, but yeah, so it got to the lowest of
Wow,
the low that
mate,
world can be.
it doesn't get any darker than that, right? So all this kind of myth about, oh, let's be happy clappy, let's pretend the world's great, because your world actually imploded and you're in a really, really bad place. Thankfully, right? I mean, because I don't want this sort of introduction to Paddy to be doom and gloom, because
Yeah.
thankfully, you're here and you've got two lovely kids, you've got a lovely wife, you work for us, but you also do work that's not for us. So what do you do when you're not working for Art of Being Brill? Because this is interesting as well, I think.
Yeah, so like my whole thing is outside of the art of Brill, is working with people with really complex mental health issues. So that could be from like depression to paranoid schizophrenia to personality disorder. So it's actually helping them not so much recover as recover from, but in the whole recovery process is how do I live in the world while still having these conditions? How can I still live my best life and understand that it's the condition doesn't define you as a person. It's what you do with yourself that does.
Wow. Yeah. So you sort of after being Brill, and when we're not using you, you're throwing your time into helping people who really, because you've got an affinity with that because you've obviously been through these terrible traumatic times. So I'm not saying that all the Art of Being Brill trainers have got the the sort of darkness of your backstory, but
Yeah.
we have all got a backstory, but nothing, obviously nothing quite compared with where you've been. So if Paddy, there are people listening to this who are really, really struggling, and I'm not talking like a little bit worried about doing a presentation next week. I'm talking about serious level of struggle, where you said that you didn't think this life was for you. If there are people who are having those thoughts, I mean, I don't think there are any quick wins, probably, but what would you say?
Um, for the you can change the narrative on suicide in any way. You can do it for others, you can do it for yourself. So if we just talk from the self aspect of it, um, the best thing you can do if you're having thoughts of suicide is to seek out that help. There's loads of charities out there. There's loads of national things like Smartens and Lifelines. There's local ones. Um, but I think the best thing that people can actually do is create distractions for themselves. And I don't mean distract yourself, like if I just distract myself, it's going to go away. Yes, you need the professional help, but on the day to day, it's read a book, listen to some music, listen to an audiobook, go for a walk, have a snack, and sit down and do nothing. Like this world is so fast. Everybody thinks I need to be doing more. Sometimes it's okay just to sit down and go, you know what, I'm not feeling great.
Yeah,
I'm going to have a conversation with a friend. These are things I do
yeah,
on a daily basis. And it's not because I feel that way now. It's just so then I know
yeah,
I'm not going to be that way. I have
yeah.
full control then of myself.
Yeah, and I know I've seen you on social media. You're always out on a walk, or you're out with the kids on a paddleboard, or you're
Yeah.
the sort of outdoors seems to be your natural medicine. Is that correct?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's probably one of the most underutilized and undervalued thing of
Yeah,
getting outside for a walk. It doesn't need to be like, as you say, in paddleboarding and lakes and out in the forest and stuff like that. I'm just blessed that they're literally 5 minutes from me.
yeah,
But a walk even out along the street, out along the paths around the park, of wherever you're living around the streets, just put the earphones in, go for a walk. It's all there and it's all free. That's the thing. It's free. It's not going to do any damage to your insides. It's
yeah,
there's a lot of things that people could be doing better for themselves. So I'm hoping
yeah,
as we do this talk that they start to do these things for themselves. 10, 15 minutes a day of
yeah,
self-care is probably more vital than people actually
yeah.
realize.
I agree, mate. I think, yeah, no, I agree. I've never been in these dark places that you've been to, but I have this sneaking suspicion that we medicate quite quickly, and then we forget to do the basics of fresh air, eat, move, sleep, get good
Yeah,
sleep. Like I say, read a book, work on yourself, work on your self development. But I know that if I'm saying that and people are having suicide thoughts, then this is water off a duck's back. It doesn't sink in when you're in
yeah.
those low depths because you get really subsumed in your own world, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but that's when, like it can become overwhelming with thoughts and things like that. So like the easiest thing I ever done was at night time was worse for me. It was like the worst time because it
Yeah,
was left alone with thoughts. There was no more
yeah,
distractions in the world. You're supposed to be relaxing. Literally a cheap notebook and start writing your thoughts down because the
yeah,
second you write your thoughts down, you can't have all these other thoughts. So it's get it out of your head, get it on a piece of paper,
yeah,
speak to somebody the next day about it. It's that sort of, it's just finding wee small things, and it doesn't have to be, as you say, like the big whole medicated things. It's a book, it's a walk, it's things
yeah.
we can do that we have around us all the time.
Brilliant, Paddy. And I know that you're trained in the suicide prevention. You've been
Yeah,
through all the courses and stuff. So you're speaking from because what you're talking is really quite simple, but it's actually forcing yourself when you're in that really bad place to do these things. Because everything, like even getting out of bed, is a chore. You know what I mean? If you're in
yeah,
such a bad place. So I do appreciate that it's me standing. It sounds easy, but if you're in that place, it isn't easy. But I think we'll leave it there, Paddy, because what I didn't want to do is like make this a whole hour. Nobody's going to listen to an
yeah,
hour. But I think that just behind the scenes about the Art of Being Brill team, with the backstory, we are real people in the real
yeah,
world. The
yeah.
real
There's
world is quite brutal and it's quite fast and unrelenting, really. But as you say, in spite of that, you talked about what you do is bring this to life in the real world, the world as it is.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
So I'll
That's all we
leave it to that,
can do.
mate. So I love your authenticity, Paddy. The reason you're my favourite, mate, is because you're proper authentic. You're proper
Yeah,
sort of let's not be ashamed of the backstory or hide the backstory, but also you don't make a huge song and dance about the backstory. It is part of who you are today,
yeah. It's
right?
just
And all of us are crafted, aren't we, by a
stories.
backstory.
That's
Yeah,
that's
that's
all
all
we
we
really
are.
are. Yeah,
Well, mate, you're a story, yeah. But
yeah,
what you've managed to do is rewrite yours and give you a happy ever after ending, hopefully, yeah?
yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to find that Disney ending quickly.
Yeah, the Disney ending that we all want. Yeah, fantastic. All right, I'll leave it there, Paddy. Thanks ever so much for your time today. And if you're watching this, folks, and you are in a dark place, then Paddy's top tips there is like reach out to one of the charities or go for a walk or get the thoughts out of your head onto pieces of paper where they can't do you any harm. That journaling thing is actually a tried and tested therapeutic thing. So, Paddy, thanks ever so much, mate, and keep on doing that good work across Ireland for us.
Thanks very much, Andy. I'll see you soon.